Hello, welcome back to Simple or Difficult. In this video, we are going to be creating this scene in 3ds Max. Okay, we are going to be using 3ds Max and we're going to be using Vray renderer in this particular video. This video is very beginner friendly. If you have never opened or done anything like this in 3ds Max, you are welcome to watch this video. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to not only create this scene, but also be able to think like a visualization artist. Okay, you should be able to do your own project on your own, not just to copy and paste what I've done in this video. Now, this video, we are going to be doing some series of things to get this scene done. The first one is that we're going to be modeling this scene. Okay, we're going to be modeling from the scratch. I've attached an AutoCAD file in the description, which you can download. So you can work side by side with me and follow along with this video. Okay, so after modeling, we are going to be importing the models. That's the seats, the dining, the kitchen. We're going to import them. I will show you how to import it. And all the links to the file I'm importing will be in the description. Now, after importing, we're going to create camera. After creating camera, we're going to be working with light. I'm going to show you shadow composition. I'm going to show you how you can use image comp helper to set up good, nice camera angles and views in your scene. Then after that, the next thing we are going to be looking at is how we can set up materials. We're going to be creating materials. We're going to be editing materials. We're going to be converting materials from Corona materials to Vray materials, okay? If you have never done that before, this video, we're going to cover all those things. All right, so after that, I'm going to be showing you render settings. You are going to set up your renders, and we are going to now render it and save out, okay? So if these are the kind of things you want to see, stick around, don't go anywhere. All right, so without any further ado, let's just get into this video so we can start modeling, creating, rendering, and everything that you came here for. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is import the file we are going to use to model the scene. But before we get into importing the AutoCAD file for modeling, I want us to customize our modeling units. I shall set mine to millimeter. I suggest you do the same, as I shall not be converting to any other units as I model in this video. So this is how you set it, okay? Then click on the system unit setup. You see millimeter there. Now you can come out of there. Secondly, go over to the render setup. Okay, we need to ensure that the renderer is Vray. If it is not, this is how to set it to Vray. Okay, click here. Select this Vray. Okay, it's there now. Okay, as you can see. Now let's import the file that we're going to use. And we shall start by importing the floor plan. Go to File, click on File. Okay. You see import, select import, and then go over to where you saved the AutoCAD file that you downloaded from the description. Select the floor plan and then hit open. Hit OK. Now you've successfully imported the AutoCAD file into the scene. Now when you select this thing, you find out that they are in parts. All right, so we're going to attach them together as one drawing, as one element using the attach tool. Okay, so how do we do that? Select any of the parts you want, go over to the modify tab, scroll down. Okay, scroll down till you find the attached tool, click on it. Now you can click on the other parts of this drawing that we just imported. Okay, now I want you to realize something. When you hover around this thing, you find out that they turn yellow. Okay, whereas when you hover around the ones that you've already attached, they are unresponsive. So you use that to know the ones you have attached and the ones you have not attached. So I keep hovering around. When anyone turns yellow, you click on it, and just like that, you will just finish attaching all the different parts into one singular element. Okay, let me just quickly do the rest, the ones I've not done. Okay, I think all the ones here are done. Right, so let's go ahead and import the section. Okay, inside that same folder you downloaded, there is a section inside there, so select it and then hit open. The same thing we did the first time, and it is here. Okay, now I'm going to select everything and then deselect the floor plan so I can move the section out of the way. It came in parts, so we're going to attach it just like we attached the floor plan. So go down till you find attach, select it, and then attach the other different parts together into a single spline. All right, we have done that. Now it is easier to work on orthographic mode, so I'm going to switch this perspective to orthographic mode. And also I will get rid of the grid by hitting G on my keyboard. Now this is a section, not a plan. It is not supposed to be lying down the way it is. So select the rotation tool. Ensure you turn on angle snap toggle. This enables you easily get the desired angle as the snap to angles are set by you in the settings. Also rotate it this way, 90 degrees. Okay, now with the spline selected, select the move tool and move it into position. To be able to do this easily, you need snap toggle to be active. Right click on it to bring out the settings. Ensure that what I've checked on here is what you have checked too. Uncheck any other option. Alright. Now with this snap toggle, move the spline into position just like I'm doing. Now we are done importing and setting up this AutoCAD file. It's time for us to start modeling proper. Select box from the standard primitives. Create the box just like I have created it. Note that my snap toggle is still active. Adjust the parameter of the box, the length, the width to 225, then the height on the other hand should be set to 600 as that is the seal height. Okay, if I bring it there now, you're going to see that it's going to flush with the seal, as you can see. Now, because the length and width is set to 225, it will fit into this corner. Okay, with the box selected, right click and convert it to editable poly. Hit 4 on your keyboard or just select the polygon over here in this modify tab. Select this face, holding down the shift button, drag the polygon towards the y-axis. Snap to the beginning of the window opening, then to the end of the window opening. Okay? You can still do this on the plan view, as you can see. Now let me show you where we are doing this part by part, the way we are doing it. Hit F4 on your keyboard. You'll see the edges we are creating. For context, the edges are the lines you can see here. Okay, these edges come in handy when it comes to further editing of the poly. Okay, but specifically the reason we have it here is to help us create wall opening. Okay, moving on. Select this poly. Because there are no breaks or opening, I will take it all the way to the wall. As we normally do, create edges for the two walls. Alright. Now that we understand the process, go ahead and trace out the plan using this poly. Make sure you create all the necessary edges as you go. Now we've gotten to the end. Switch to vertex. We have to weld these vertices to clean up the cluster of vertices there. Now to do this, select the vertices that you want to weld. In the Modify tab, you will see weld right next to Extrude. Just click on it and it is done. Now that we have successfully traced the plan, the next thing we are going to do is to successfully trace the section. So let's go. Select all the top polys. To do this with ease, check on by angle in the Modify tab. Leave the 45 as it is. Now all you have to do is click once at any of the polys up here and all the top polys will be selected. Now for the next step, get into the appropriate view, as this will help make the snapping easier. Okay, holding down the shift button just as we did when we are tracing the plan, snap to the top of the window opening. Ensure your snap toggle is active. Also snap to the top of the ceiling. You can upbeat to see your progress. Yes, you did that. All right, you did that. This is all you. Now, if this video has been helpful so far, do consider to hit the like button. Okay, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn on notifications so you get notified every single time I drop valuable content like this, and that is once or twice a week, depending on what I am working on. Okay. All right, let's continue, shall we? Next thing we are going to do is create openings on these walls for our window. Okay, to do that, select the polygon. Select just the window polygon, the place that the opening is supposed to be, as you can see. Why is this happening? This is happening because of the by angle option we checked when we want to select all the top polygons for the wall. Now, when you uncheck this, you can select only the poly at the window opening. Now to create the opening for our window, switch to the move tool, hold down shift and then push, in this case in the x-axis, okay, to cut the window opening through the wall. Let me undo that real quick. Another way you can do this same thing, okay, is select both sides of the window poly. In the modify tab, click on bridge. As you can see, the window opening is there. There is supposed to be a door here, but because our camera won't capture that part of the room, we are not going to put it. Now the next thing we are going to do is create the floor and the ceiling. With the help of Swift Loop, we shall create the floor. Swift Loop is one of the graphite modeling tools in 3ds Max, and you can find it by dropping this down, okay? Select it when you find it. Now, depending on where you are and how you have positioned your cursor, that will determine if your loop will be vertical or horizontal. So position your cursor the way I have positioned mine to get a similar loop as mine. When you get it, click once to create the loop. Now when you create the loop, it becomes part of the editable poly. To be able to use it as a floor, we need to have it separated from the poly, and the easiest way to do that is this. With the loop still selected, or if by mistake you deselected yours, make sure, if you want to select it back, make sure you are in the edge sub-object, okay? You come over here in the modify tab, the second one, or you can just hit 2 on your keyboard. That will put you in the edge sub-object mode. Now double click on one of the loop segment, okay? Hopefully that is going to select all of them for you. If it doesn't do that, just simply hold down the control button on your keyboard and select them one by one. Now with all the loop that we just created, with all of them selected, on the modify tab, scroll down to create shape from selection, okay? Click on it, set the shape type to linear, then hit OK. Now turn off the Swift Loop, okay? Switch to wireframe mode. We need to select the shape we just created and then move it into position. Now isolate it and then duplicate it. Duplicate the shape, take it down a bit. Okay, for the shape under, apply extrude modifier to it. Set the amount to 20. Now for the shape on top, apply the floor generator to it. Floor generator is a third-party modifier from CG Source. I'll put a link in the description. It has a free version as well as a paid version. But as far as this course goes, if you have the free version, you are good to go. So download it, install it, and let's go. Just in case you don't know how to install it, I'll just attach a video I have created in the past explaining how to download and install Floor Generator in the top right hand corner of the screen. Okay, do well to check it out. Moving on. Now let's set up the Floor Generator. The max length, we are going to set it to 1200 millimeters. The max width, I will set that one to 120 millimeters. For the extrude, go ahead and add 8 millimeter in there. Okay, the bevel is going to be 2 millimeters, making everything 10 millimeters. I'm going to leave the grout length the way it is. Now raise up the first shape we extruded to meet the one we applied Floor Generator on. The reason we did this is so that the light won't seep in through the grout opening in the floorboard as we have created it with Floor Generator, okay? And so this extruded shape covers up those openings that is created by the grout opening. But before that, you'd notice that the gizmo of this shape is not at the center of the shape where normally it is meant to be. Now to bring it to the center, click on the hierarchy tab, click on affect pivot only, then click on center to object. Now come out of there so we can move the extrude shape into position. You don't have to be very accurate with it. Okay, but then let it cover the underneath so the light doesn't seep in. All right, so that's it for the floor. Now we'll move over to creating the ceiling. To create the ceiling, select the extruded shape and duplicate it. Okay, duplicate it again as a copy. We shall edit the spline a bit. Okay, select the vertices and adjust the position after turning off the extrude modifier. When you're done adjusting the position, turn the modifier back on. For the extruded shape underneath, we are going to create shadow lines for the ceiling curtains. Alright, so with a box, get 200 by 200 millimeter dimensions. The height doesn't matter, okay? This box will serve as a measuring tool to be able to create our shadow line. Now the next thing we're going to do is to select the extruded shape, the one underneath. Okay, turn off the extrude modifier and then select the vertices and move them back using the box as a guide. Turn the extrude modifier back on when you are done. Now select the box and delete it. Select the extrude shapes, which is now our ceiling and our floor slab above the ceiling, and then move them into position, as you can see me doing. Okay, select the shape underneath. Okay, set the extrude amount to 150. That is for the ceiling. We are almost done with modeling. Next thing we are going to do is create a vent right here on this floor. To do this, select the floorboards and the wall and hide them, or just select the extruded shape there and isolate it. Okay. Select the plane tool and create a plane as I'm creating it now. Adjust the parameter. The length should be 4,000 millimeters, that's 4 meters. With the use of a box, we shall get an offset of 200 millimeters from the wall. Now we're back to the plane. We're going to add a parameter again, the second parameter, which is the width. And for that, we're going to add 250 millimeters. Increase the width segment to 9. Convert the plane to editable poly. Select the segment, the length segment, and move it up. Okay, select this other segment and move it down. Select the external edges and create a shape from it. Make sure it is in linear and then click OK. Select the initial shape, the one that we have a floor generator, modifier on, and then attach this new spline to it. Okay, you have to turn off the floor generator and then attach the new spline to it. Then turn the floor generator back on. Now, what that does for you is that it creates an opening, in the place where this new shape that we attached is. Okay, so when you look at the floor generator now, you're going to see an opening there. Now, when I change the view to default shading and I zoom in, you will find out that the vent cover is still flat and the grill is still closed. Let's do something about that, shall we? So select it and isolate it. Then select the same edges that I selected, okay? Let me return it to the default shading. In the Modify tab, under Edit Edges, you will see chamfer. Click on the chamfer settings. Then check on this box, then take the slider up to widen the gap. Now for us all to be in the same page, type in 7 in there and hit OK. Alright? Select the plane that we have just cut an opening in and then add a shell modifier to it to add thickness to it. Now we have the outer amount and the inner amount when it comes to adding thickness to this. So I'm going to select the floorboards and the vent to see the side to add this thickness to, because I want the vent to flush with the floorboard. On the outer amount, add 10 millimeters. That will flush it with the floorboards. With the vent selected, I will apply a chamfer modifier to it. Go down to smoothing output, change it from smooth entire object to smooth chamfers only. Turn on edges by hitting F4 on your keyboard to see exactly what is going on here. Now let's go back so we can make some adjustments. Add one more segment to this. Set the amount to 1.5 millimeters. Bring all the geometries back by clicking this button. We have to add chamfer modifier to the entire model as it promotes realism, because in reality, objects do not have perfectly squared out edges. So we copy the chamfer modifiers we already set for the vent and paste it on everything. Okay, the walls, the ceiling, everything. So we are done with the modeling. It is time to start loading in models and assets. To do this with ease, we might sometimes want to work in default shading mode, but that will be stressful if we keep hiding the ceiling because we want to see inside the space. To get rid of this issue, we set the ceiling to be invincible even though it is still there. That way, you get to see into the space without having to hide and unhide while working in your scene. To do this, select the ceiling, right-click, go to Object Properties, check on Display as Box. Do the same thing for the other ceiling. Now you can not only see through, but also you can select what is underneath. Now let's start bringing in the models. When we are done with that, we are going to set up our camera, we'll set up lighting, we shall also set up materials. And also, we shall set up the render and then render it. Then we can call it a day. So stick around, don't go anywhere. The first thing I want to bring into this scene is the window, to cover the window opening. This is the window we shall be using. I will attach the link in the description alongside every other asset used in this video. I may not put up the image like this for the rest, but be rest assured that the link will be in the description. Alright, so just drag the window, the Vray Max file into the scene. Okay, select Merge File and then click OK. We shall be using this one. Okay, select the window and the wooden frame, then move it close to the window opening where we shall use it. Turn on wireframe mode by hitting F3 on your keyboard. This will enable us to see what we are doing. Since we are done with modeling, select the AutoCAD files we used to model the scene and delete them. Group the window and the frame for easy selectability, then move the group into place. Now the window is bigger than the opening we created. As you can see, we need the window to be small in width and taller in height. To adjust the size of this window, we need to use Edit Poly modifier. With the window selected, come with me to the Modify tab. Click on the modifier list, type Edit Poly, click on it to apply to the window when it comes out. With this modifier, you can access the sub-object selection with which you can use to edit the size of the window. Watch and imitate what I'm doing. Convert to editable poly when you are done adjusting the size. The next thing I want to bring in are the furnitures. I already set up the furnitures I want to use when I was preparing for this course. If you want to use exactly the models I used, check out the description for the links. If you prefer, you can always use yours. So I will copy this furniture. So I will copy this furniture model and paste them into the scene I'm working on. The only issue might be that I modified the kitchenette a little bit and made it longer, but other than that, every other thing is exactly the way I got them. Using Capital, I will copy and paste the models. Capital is a script that you can use to copy objects from scene to another scene. It basically works like merging those models into the scene you are working on. You can get this script on ScriptSpot. The links will be in the description. When you get it, you can install it. If you don't know how to, there's a video I've done where I taught how scripts can be installed. Check the description for that as well. This comes in handy when you want to bring in specific objects from a scene you previously worked on, as opposed to bringing in the entire scene. Now that the models are in the scene, I will go ahead and arrange them where I want them to be. Watch me closely and follow the steps that are relevant to your own scenario. I want the vent away from under the carpet. It doesn't really matter, but I want to use this as an opportunity to show you how you can edit the opening we created on the floorboard and move it to a different position when we need to. Turn on the floor generator. Select the vertices of the spline around the opening. Move the vertices to the desired location and then move the vent to match the opening. Select the floor spline and turn the floor generator back on. Select the dining table and chair and move them into position. Next, I shall place the lights into their appropriate positions. Next, I want to create a shadow gap right here in the ceiling so I can put light in there. Select the vertices and move it back just a little bit. Now I will bring in other models like curtains. I will merge this one to the scene. Then move it into position after rotating it. Get rid of the middle piece, I don't need it, and you will see why later on in this video. Ensure the curtain is not in the floor. If it is, you can move it up out of the floor, or you can move the floor down out of the curtain. In this case, moving the floor down is the best because that way other models in the scene that are already in the floor will be revealed right back. So I will select the floor and move the floor down like so. Now everything I import and the ones I've already imported stays above the floor, not in it. Select the vertices of the lower part of the wall and move it down. I don't want light seeping in from all these edges because of the floors that I moved down. Now I'll go ahead and bring in the wall art and then pendant light over the dining. This is too close to the table, so I will shorten the wire. Bring in the artworks and position them well in the scene. I will bring in some decorative objects for the dining table and position them properly. Now that I'm done bringing in the models, I will link the maps of the model using Relink bitmaps. Another script you can get from ScriptSpot free of charge. There's a video I've done on this where I show how scripts work and how you can set it up. Okay, so do well to check that video out, it will do you good. Now it is time for us to create and set up our camera. Okay, to create the camera, click on the camera icon, then click on the drop down menu to select Vray. Then select Vray physical camera. Now to create the camera, click, hold and drag, just like you see me doing, towards the left side. When you are satisfied with the direction of the camera, then let go. I just realized that all this while we have been working, we have not saved our file. Saving your file and making sure your auto backup is active can go a long way to saving your life in this business. Because anything can happen and your file will crash. You might be trying to use floor generator and boom, it is gone. So to save, click on file, then click on save. Name your file, then click save. Now it is time for us to start setting up the camera, but there are things I need to put in place first. First, I like working with double viewports. One for my camera view, the other viewport is where I work. To change a viewport to camera view, all you have to do is go to that viewport and click C. Just hover around the viewport and click C on your keyboard. That will make your camera view the view in the viewport where your cursor is at. However, if you happen to have more than one camera in your scene, it will bring out a list of cameras in the scene, which you will then select from. But then, if you have the camera you want selected, when you click C on your keyboard, the selected camera becomes the view in the viewport where your cursor is at. Now moving on. For interiors, I usually set my camera height from the finished floor between 850mm to 1000mm. That is 0.85 meters to 1 meter. Okay, but for the purpose of this video, let's move the camera up by 900mm. So select the camera and the target like so. Mind you should have your move tool selected. Come down here, change this to offset mode, like just click on this thing to change it to offset mode. Type in 900mm, hit enter, and the camera is up by 900mm. Next thing is to set the aspect ratio. To see the current aspect ratio, click Shift F on your keyboard. So to adjust this current aspect ratio, click on Render Setup. In the Common tab, under Output Size, click on HDTV Video and change it to Custom. That way you can adjust it to whatever you like. For the width, I'll input 4, and for the height, I'll input 6. Let me shift this aside so we can see the effect of this. I will also change the display mode to clean. Moving on, let's adjust the focal length of the camera. Select the camera and head over to the Modify tab. Under the Sensor and Lens, change the focal length from 40 to 36. Now I will adjust the camera and target till I get what I want. As a beginner, you might find it difficult to figure out what you want when it comes to camera angles. Even I find it difficult sometimes, because truth be told, it is one thing to know how to work your camera, but it's an entirely different thing to know how to position it to get the best out of your scene. So if it is so difficult, how does one figure it out? How do I get it done? Okay, now hold on, before we get into all that, there's something I want us to talk about first. That is clipping and environment. To turn it on, check this box right here. Each camera has its own near and far clipping planes. Now, objects closer than the near clipping plane or farther than the far clipping plane are invisible to the camera. Now, I will increase the far clipping plane like so and take it outside the room. For the near clipping plane, I will increase it a little bit like so. Now, in this scene, this will come in very handy because it will enable me to take the camera back, like way back, even beyond the walls. Now, because the near clipping plane is still inside the room, I will still be seeing what is inside the room. So when you take it back, it's as if you are taking the camera back to see more view of the room, but then you are outside the room, but because the near clipping plane is inside the bedroom, you are still seeing what is in the room, as if the camera is still in the room. Now you get the benefit of taking the camera back, but not the disadvantage of being outside the room, because when you're outside the room without this clipping plane, you are not going to be seen inside the room with the camera. So back to what I was telling you before on how I get nice camera angles. It's actually two things, all right? The first one is reference. You need to get reference from Pinterest, Instagram, X, Behance. It doesn't really matter. Once you see an image that you think the camera angles are properly set and arranged, get it, study it, internalize it, and try and understand how it was put together. Now, I don't mean when you get a project, only when you get a project, that's when you should start looking for this thing. You should be doing this thing consciously every single day. The more pictures you see, the more pictures you expose yourself to, the easier it becomes, the better it becomes for you to be able to identify what a good picture should look like, because you see and you see and you see, at some point you start being able to identify these things and archive them and keep them properly. That brings me to the second thing. Okay, practice. You practice it. And I don't mean, you walk from your head. I mean side by side while you walk. You try to imitate these cool angles that you have seen and have gotten. Okay, if you don't know what a cool camera angle are like, don't worry. Keep looking at cool images on the internet. You'll figure it out eventually. Now it is time for us to set up lights in this scene. Any other settings with the camera and aspect ratio will come in during interactive render, if we think the ones we have now is not really looking nice. But first, when I select the camera, do you notice where the gizmo is? Yes, it's not even close to the camera, and that makes it pretty difficult to move the camera around. To fix that, make sure you are selecting the camera. Go over to the hierarchy tab, click on affect pivot only, then click on center to object. See, now the gizmo is with the camera and you can move it around easily. Now, as you can see, I'm having difficult time getting what I want with this aspect ratio, so I'm going to open the render settings and adjust it. This is just to show you that apart from adjusting your camera, you can also adjust your aspect ratio to get what you want if need be. Also, you can adjust model in the scene as well, because none of this is set in stone. Now, to balance the foreground, the middle ground, and the background, I'm going to turn on the camera target right back, select it like so, and move it up. But as soon as I move it up, you realize that the entire image becomes skewed. To fix that, select the camera. In the tilt and shift rollout, turn on automatic vertical tilt. Okay, finally, it is time to actually set up lights in this scene. So click 8 on your keyboard, the 8 that is on top of the alphabet. Click 8 on your keyboard, that's the shortcut for environments and effect. Click on none. Go down to Vray and select Vray Sky, then click OK. The next thing we need to do before we start interactive rendering is come over here under Vray tab in the render settings and turn on material override. Then we set up the material we want to use to override the entire scene materials with. To do that, open the material editor. Let's create it. Okay, just drag out the Vray material out here, watch my steps and follow them closely. Change the reflection to white. This makes the reflection active and visible. But we don't need the material to be this glossy, so we reduce the glossiness to 0.5. But the material is too bright, so we are going to reduce the value to make it a little bit darker. That's all we need to do for our override material. Now let's apply it by dragging the node to this place where it says no matte. Ensure you are on instance, then click OK. Now that we have successfully done this, it means that if we render or do interactive rendering, everything in this scene will assume this solid white material we just created, and that includes the window. And if that is the case, that means the environment light we just added won't come into this scene, and if it doesn't come in, how are we now going to set up our light? Well, there's a way we can exclude anything we want, like the windows and specific materials that are important to set up lights in our scenes. So to exclude the window, we first need to know its name. Okay, you can find the name right here. Now click on the exclude button, select the Timo window, but then the window has a frame. The frame doesn't matter, but for the sake of what we are doing, find out the name of that frame and click on exclude again and select them both. Click the arrow pointing towards the right, then click OK. Now let's bring out the frame buffer. But before we start interactive rendering, let's lock the camera viewport so it always renders from it each time we do any kind of render. To start the interactive render, click this T port right here, the one that has the play button next to it, and wait for it to load up. As you can see, it has loaded up and it is very dark. Now we need to balance the exposure and white balance. Open the render setup. Under Vray, in the camera section, check auto exposure and suddenly everything looks brighter, as you can see. Next, turn on the auto white balance. That will balance the color of the image not to be too warm or too cold. We can go on to increase the exposure further, but then that made the image to have more severe highlight bands. But then with this slider, we take care of that. We can also increase the contrast to increase the quality, the richness of the shadows. Now we need to get rid of this black part. It is as a result of the camera clipping. So we need to go back there and adjust it a little bit, okay? As you can see, it is gone. In my eagerness to show you how you can further brighten your scene, I went on to mess with the exposure, but before we do that, I recommend we bake in the parameters from the auto exposure and white balance. To do that, we shall delete this exposure like so. Open the render setup. Because my camera is selected, I will click on transfer to selected camera. Then I will uncheck auto exposure and white balance. Now we can go ahead and tweak the exposure all we want. To do that, let's add it back. Increase the exposure, decrease the highlight band like so. Then increase the contrast for darker and punchy shadows. I know the light behind the splashback seems to be much, but then we shall deal with it later. You can also adjust lights using the shutter speed under the aperture roller. But then we don't need to do that, so I will leave it at 200. Also, you can also adjust the exposure using the ISO, okay, as you can see. But then I will undo that. Now, with exposure, you can always increase the overall brightness of the scene. Now, let's adjust the visuals and tone of the image using some of the editing tools in the Vray frame buffer. Now, the next thing we're going to do is add some light to support the natural light coming from the window. But in as much as we're going to add new lights, we need to adjust the ones already in the scene. We can also use render region to focus our interactive render where they are needed. Now, next thing I like to do is introduce some daylight into the scene. But before we do that, let's activate denoiser. Now let's proceed to improving the daylight conditions of the scene. Select the Lights tab, then select Vray, then select Vray Light. Draw the light, then move it into position. Next, go to the light options and make the following changes. Then start interactive render. Turn on the effect diffuse, then go and reduce the intensity. As you are working on the light, you can also be adjusting the tone settings we did earlier to suit the situations of the scene. Now I shall introduce the cove light, then adjust and move them into position. Now let's start interactive render. The light is too bright, that means we shall have to adjust the intensity to 5. Now I want to put another cove light right here, so I'm going to copy this one I already created, then rotate and move it into place. Now let's adjust the bloom and glare of the scene. Now everything seems to be working well for now. So we are going to go over to render settings to turn off the material override so we can start working on materials. Open render setup. Turn off the material override the way we turned it on. Then save the file. Start interactive render to see what we now have.
You can see I just reduced the exposure a little bit. You can see that this sofa is looking black, and that is because it is a Corona material. So we are going to select it and we are going to convert it to Vray material. Alright, so to do that, we come over here on this tab, you see converters. Open Vray scene converter. I'm going to select, convert selected nodes only, and then I'm going to convert it. Okay, when I do that, let's go ahead and see what we're going to get. Let me open here and see. Okay, so let's go ahead and do interactive render and see what we're going to get. All right, as you can see, when I did that, it has restored this. Let me just stop this denoiser. It has restored the material. Now I want to change this material from being a wood material to, a white material. But then this light is rather very small for my liking. Okay, what I had in mind is that it's going to be a bit bigger. Okay, I'm going to ensure that it is bigger now. And I'm going to do that by selecting it. I'm going to close this group and then scaling it to make it bigger. Okay, I'll be on this view so I can be appreciating it when it's getting bigger. Now I'm going to move it up, open the group, Okay, and just like that. Yeah. So let me go ahead and see the way it is. So another interactive render. Okay, yeah, that's more like it now. That's more like it. But I might have to reduce it a little bit. Just a little bit. I think this is okay. That's okay for now. And I'm going to... Oh, okay. It's not even closed. So I'm just going to take it up to the ceiling as it should be. Yeah, I think it's okay now. So the next thing I want to do is to change the color of this cabinet to white. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm going to get material from selected. Let's go and see the one that is the... Okay. All right, so I'm just going to remove this. Well, I can see that everything just turned white, just like I wanted to. Okay. I might even make it a bit darker, a bit grayish, but it already is. The same thing I'm going to do over here. I'm guessing this is the one for the base. Yes, that is it. So everything is now white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy this diffuse. And I'm going to paste it in here so that both of them becomes exactly the same thing. All right, so let me create the material for this floor. So I'm going to use multi-texture map for that. That is a multi-texture map is from CG Source. It works very well with Floor Generator. Floor Generator is also from CG Source, so it's no surprise that they work well together. Now that I've brought it in, I'm going to load the maps that I need to be able to create a realistic floor with different floor panels. Okay, so I'm going to stop this for now. So I'll just double click on it. When I double click on it, you're going to see manage texture. I'm going to click on it. Then I'm going to add bitmaps. And then I'm going to select all the floor slabs that I need. Okay, I'm going to select it like this, and I'm going to say open. Yeah. So I'm just going to get a Vray material and keep it here. So I'm going to get a color correction map. Okay, as you can see. So go over to the map section. You can see color correction. Now I'm going to plug into the color correction map, which I will now plug into the diffuse. Okay. We're going to have another one. I'm going to put this one into the reflection. Then yet another one. This one I'm going to put into reflection glossiness. Now, inside that same place, you're going to see that we have the bumps as well. So I'm just going to, the normals. So I'm just going to bring them in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pass this through Vray normal. Vray normal map. Okay. And then I'm going to pass that through the bump, bump slot. Okay. So these color corrections that we created here, they are settings that we need to do to them to be able to get the most out of them. So I'm just going to, let me take this thing off a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit redness to it and then reduce it, like desaturate it just a little bit, like so. Okay. I need to adjust this material a little bit. All right, so I'm going to double click on it. So the reflection, I'm going to make it, you know, white, reflective. Then for the, let me make this thing big. Then for the glossiness, I'm going to reduce this glossiness to 0.5. The bump map, I'm going to make this bump map 20, 5. The max depth. For this Fresnel IOR 2.2. All right, so we're going to work on the reflection, the color correction for the reflection. So what we are going to do is change this to advanced. Okay, but before we even do that, we're going to just, okay, let me leave it at that for now. Increase this thing to like 1.5, like make it bright. Okay, this makes it bright. I'll just change this to monochrome. The same thing, I'll make this monochrome as well. And I'll just change this to advanced, increase this a little bit. Okay, increase it to, yes. Okay, now for the reflection to and all those nice things to start coming out, we actually need to do something. And that thing is to come over here and reduce some of these maps opacity. So for this, I'm going to make it like 50 and see what happened. This is for the reflection. For the glossiness, I'm going to make it 30. You can see it is beginning to look, you know, nice. All right, for the bump, it's already at 20. So we're going to leave it at that. All right, so for now, I'm going to leave it like this. Go ahead and apply it to that floor and then do interactive render to see what we've got. So I'm going to select the floor and I'm going to apply this to it. I'm going to close this. Set it to default shading. Okay. I'm just going to do interactive render to see what I have, and then from there we can move forward. All right, so we're going to have to add additional lights to be able to get the light balance we need for this scene. All right, so the lights on the ceiling, first of all, I like to readjust this where it is. It is not positioned properly where I want it to be. So I'm going to, first of all, close this and position it properly where it is supposed to be. All right, now I'm going to, hold on a minute. I'm going to put more plain light in this scene to be able to, more Vray lights. To be able to have a more accurate color balance in this scene. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this light around. As an instance, all the places that we have lights, I'm going to copy the lights around. Okay, now I have to do some settings to this. I want to remove cast shadows, and then I want to make it invincible. I'm going to remove this. If I remove every other thing. Okay. So I'm just going to come over here in colors. And I'm going to change the color to 4000. 45 for the diffuse. Okay, so I'm going to adjust this light some more. It is 50 now. I'm going to make it 60. Okay, I need it to be a little bit brighter than it is now. Okay. All right, so I need that light on this other side as well. Okay, maybe it is too much. Let me leave it at 50. Okay, I'm just going to put this one over here as a copy. All right, so this light in here, I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to open this group. I'm going to select it. And I'm going to adjust the temperature. I want it to be very warm. Okay. As you can see, it has gotten warm. I need to reduce the intensity of the lights a little bit, like so. If I should turn off this light, let's see what we're going to have. That is what we're going to have. And that means relying on this light a lot for daylight. For lights that is going to be in this scene. Okay. Okay. So for this wall, I'm just going to very quickly go over to wall paints. Apply it to the selected objects. these two. All right, so I think this is entering inside the ceiling, so I need to bring it down a little bit. So I'm just going to do it that way. This is the ceiling. This is what we have. So I'm going to select this ceiling. I'm going to move this thing up. Sorry. For me to do this, I'm going to select the lights as well. I'm going to move. No. Going to move it up. All right. So I'm going to select this now and I'm going to take it up. So we don't have light seeping in. Maybe don't have much, but something like this is fine. I'm going to move this one up. I'm going to move it down. And just like that, we have it. All right, so the lights, we now need to take the light up to meet this as well. Now I'm going to move it up. So yeah. So as you can see, okay, I need to also raise this particular one up. I need to raise the rope of this light. Keep it here. And the exposure, increase the exposure a little bit more. Reduce the highlights bone. All right, so now I want to go about, adjusting some of these models, their materials a little bit. Like first of all, I want to make this carpet a little bit darker. Okay, I want to make the shade darker. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So how do I do that? I'm just going to open the materials and I'm going to get from selected. Okay, these are the two materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put color correction map in between here. Let me keep it one side so that I'll be seeing what I'm doing. So color correction, I'm going to place it in between here. Okay, so I'll just double click on this, come over here and reduce it, make it like 0.75. Let's see what happens. But let me reduce it to 0 and see what happens. Okay, this is just for the tips, I guess. It's just for the tip. So I'm going to make this 0.75 now. You can see the tip will change from being black to being darker. So I'm going to do the same for the material itself, the full rug itself now. So I'm going to apply it and then go over to advanced, make it like 0.5 and see what happens. That certainly made it darker. I think I'm going to go with that. These two, I'm going to make this 0.5. Okay. All right. I'll make this 0.35. I need it to be that dark. Yes. All right. Think then for this light in here, I'm thinking that light is too bright. I have to adjust it to bring it down a little bit. So let me just select it. It is 45. I'm going to make it 20. See how that goes. I'm going to make it 5. 5 might be 2. Let me just make it 10. Because 5 appears to be very, very, very not bright. So for this one now, I'm going to increase this. I'm going to make it 20. So I want to reduce make that this Cont'd material. I want to make it darker, just like I've done the carpet. So I will just drag the color correction to it, double click it, come over here and make it 0.5. I'm going to change the color to make it a bit darker than it already is. That's same thing. I'm going to do it to this one as well. Color correction. Okay. Yeah. So now I might have to desaturate it a little bit and then take it down even further. Then keep desaturating it so it doesn't look funny. This one, on the other hand, I want to make it 0.3 so that comes a darker shade, which I will desaturate to. Okay. Now, let me move this thing away from here. Now I can shift this to the wall and then leave it there. I hope this is invincible. Now I need to go ahead and add our environment on the outside, to create more something to be looking at. Okay, so I'm just going to stop this for now, and when I do, I'm going to come over here and save it. So I downloaded this picture from Google. You can also download yours as well. Download anyone you want. I just typed city and I searched it, and a lot of things came out. This is one I chose, so you can choose anyone you want. So, but this is what I'm going to be using on that exterior to create that type of, environment. to create an environment scene outside. So I'm just going to create a plane like this. Then move it into position. And how do I do that? I just get my V-Ray material, drag the environment into it, put it in the diffuse. Or what I like to do, I'll get V-Ray light material, drag it into the light color. Let me delete this. Okay. And then increase this to like 5. All right. And then with this now, so I'll apply this to it. All right, let's see what we have. Add UVW map. So when I start doing interactive render, then I'll start mapping it. Okay, so let's see. So as you can see environment out there. So I will just find the most suitable part of this environment and make sure that that is the part that we are seeing. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it like this. I think this is not bad again. It's not bad anymore. It's not bad at all. Yeah. So when you look from there, you're going to be seeing the streets from there. So the next thing I want us to do is to add color lookup table. Okay. You can add color lookup table. When you select it, you will now come over here and find and set your file location. All right. So I set mine to my Corona lookup table. Now, when you do that, you can now come over here and just be hovering around to find the most suitable one, the most suitable lookup table for your scene. Okay. So when you select it, you can now decide how pronounced you want the color lookup to be, whether you want it to be, very pronounced, or you just want it to be subtle. I really like mine to be subtle, so I'm going to leave it at 0.4 or 0.3. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like this. All right, so we're almost getting there. Now as you can see, it is giving us like different shades of color. This is good and fine, but this is not what I'm going for, so I'm going to adjust it. To correct that issue, all you have to do is select this and just add 2 in here. Okay, when you add 2 in there, you're going to have a uniform color for this, and it's going to look nice. Okay, we're almost done. But before we go to production render, there are some settings we need to do. Okay, so I'm going to open the render setup. Now, we'll open the image sampler and change it to bucket. And then under bucket image sampler, I'm going to change it from 24 to 12. Then the noise threshold to 0.007. Now, I'm going to open GI. I'm going to change this into a radiance map. I will change this to medium, change the subdivision to 70, interpolation samples to 35. Now in the render element, I'm going to add V-Ray denoiser and then add it. I'm going to save this as a preset and I'm going to name it final render. So we don't have to be saving it each time. So I'm going to save it. So we don't have to be, setting this thing each time I come over here. Oh, and then there's this. So I'm going to come over here and make this one 3000. So I'm going to save this preset. I'm going to override this one and say yes. So each time I come here and set my preset to final render, all these things are going to enter into place. Likewise your own if you save your own preset. All right, so I'm going to start my production render now by just clicking this render button, and that is going to kick in. All right, so the render have started. So I'll see you when the render is done, so we can go ahead and save out. Okay? Yeah. All right, so the render is done. Okay, everything, the denoise, everything has happened. So all we have to do now is save out this rendered image. So to do that, I'll just click here. Okay, go over to desktop because that's where I normally save my stuff, and I'll just name it living room kitchen and dining. All right, save as PNG, and I'm going to override the gamma 2.2 and then save. Say okay, and that's it. It has saved. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like, and if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. Not only subscribing, ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future tutorials when I do drop them. All right, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm going to see you in the next one.